And all these stories that are presented here are transformative. They've changed lives, not only the lives of their protagonists, some of whom you're going to meet this evening, but also of the communities that provided such fertile ground for those stories. So they're done with great care and patience and, of course, fortitude. And tonight together we're going to experience, I'm not kidding, some of the most powerful reporting of the past year, and I've been a journalist a long, long time. I had my first newspaper when I was 7. Some of the most powerful journalism I've ever seen.
I'd like to welcome you to the presentation of the Casey Medals for Meritorious Journalism. Thank you to our host, National Public Radio's Jackie Leiden, for helping us honor quality, in-depth reporting on issues related to the human condition, particularly those relating to children, youth, and families. Casey Medals reward journalists who give voice to children and families whose complex lives don't fit into sound bites or a simple solution. These awards recognize reporting that bears witness to the truth of people's lives, tells stories with honesty and sensitivity, inspires and empowers people to make changes that will improve the lives of children. Here tonight are the reporters, photographers, editors, and writers who are living proof that journalism makes a difference. They have told us how things are so that others may imagine and create how it could be.
Our first award tonight is for a project or series produced by a news outlet with a circulation of over 200,000. Now, we all know that most of childhood is spent in school, but education can truly only happen if students and their teachers feel safe. And the Casey Medal for Meritorious Journalism goes to the Philadelphia Inquirer. This aggressively exposes this corrosive epidemic of violence that affects kids and teachers in the city's public schools.
The judges called Assault on Learning an impressive powerhouse of a series with top-notch writing and great editing and excellent analysis. They praised the team of reporters for overcoming huge obstacles to tell the urgent story about violence in Philadelphia public schools and to expose the ineffectiveness of leaders to stop it.
In this series, we were able to get results. We were able to address an issue that I think we would all agree was an old story in Philadelphia, that there had been violence in the city schools. So if there's any lessons to take away from this, one I would urge you to take is that there is never an old story, that re-examine things that you think you know everything about. We feel that with this effort, at the very least, we know that there's changes that have taken place, and we know that today, kids in Philly have a better chance at learning. Thank you so much.
Our next awardee has earned the trust of his readers by respecting their hunger for truth, and the Casey Medal for opinion and commentary goes to David Saracen of The Oregonian. David, please come on up.
The judges in the opinion category praised David Saracen for putting a human face on the hidden issue of hunger.
If we actually hope to make the education enterprise work for more kids, we need to give them the support that will help them concentrate and focus, so that when we're trying to explain verbs, we don't have lots of kids hoping only for lunch.
It took me literally some years of columns just to make people take this idea seriously. Now, I even had my own newspaper send out 2 reporters to try to disprove the department's statistics. I always tell people about a visit I made to an elementary school, one of the grittier parts of East Portland. I'm talking to one of the cafeteria workers, and she tells me, when kids come back after Easter break, when they come back after a long weekend, she can tell they're hungry. They're eager to get to the line. And I tell people this story because I say, if you were ever in elementary school, the one thing you learned was, it takes a lot to rattle a lunch lady. but this situation rattles her, and it should rattle us. Thank you very much for this.
And with the support of the investigative fund at the Nation Institute, Women's e-News dared to question the government's support of the infant formula industry. Let's have a listen.
There's a global consensus that breast milk is almost always best for babies. So why is the U.S. government the largest buyer and distributor of infant formula?
The immune-supporting probiotics?
The judges in this category called the Women's e-News investigation tough, meticulous, and in the best tradition of accountability reporting.
We're now in an era where all the literature, all the government agencies except WIC are out there trying to persuade mothers that really is best for baby, and I would add mother. WIC has a built-in conflict of interest in that it's had a long-term relationship with the formula companies. So it really calls to question this whole series of the behavior of a federal agency in undermining the health of low-income women and their infants.
Wisconsin has higher rates of infant mortality in some Milwaukee zip codes than in Botswana or the Gaza Strip. And the Journal Sentinel team that analyzed this in great detail found out just why this was so and took us back behind those statistics. And let's watch a clip from its series called Empty Cradles.
Who knew that in some parts of this country, babies die at a higher rate than in Botswana? The judges praised the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel for putting infant mortality under the microscope in order to mobilize their community and save lives.
I mean, it's the sort of problem that is so ingrained in the community, so accepted as insurmountable that nobody tries to do much about it. We changed that by doing what journalists do. We told stories. We told the story of why our community must act, why it is not a they problem, but an our problem. I can also say that our team is extremely proud of this award and what it represents, and that we will be putting the money that comes with it toward the cause, because after all, this is our problem too. Thank you.
And tonight, we'd like to honor two very different projects that gave voice to autistic people and those who love them the most. And rising to the top of the Casey Medal category for a single article, over 200,000 in circulation, was Amy Harmon's piece in the New York Times, Autistic and Seeking a Place in the Adult World. Here's a clip.
You wish upon a star.
The judges called this classic narrative storytelling excruciatingly well written and said it was moving and funny and important and unforgettable.
And why does it say single there?
I decided not to get married.
Why?
I decided not to get married because marriage is too complicated.
But you could have a girlfriend, right?
Maybe I need a girlfriend sometimes.
So I wanted to try to sort of show, not tell, what it was like to be a young adult with autism who wanted to have a degree of independence that previous generations of people with autism had not had. And I'm going to read one other response that I got from people who didn't know what autism was. And this was somebody who wrote a comment on the article on the Times website. I would normally pass by a feature about autism or just read the top of it, having no children of my own and little interaction with those who have the disorder. So I write simply as a reader in search of a good story. And your piece, Ms. Harmon, moved me enough to read every last word. Thank you and good luck to Justin. It was a privilege to spend some time in his world this morning. And I read that not in praise of my own work, but only in gratitude that I was able to spend the time that it takes to bring someone into Justin's world.
Justin and his mom, Maria Teresa, are going to join us. And we can all spend a little bit of time in your world. What did you learn from the story of your life?
Well, about my life, it's about my autism. And I refuse to drive when I'm an adult. When I'm adult, I refuse to do drugs, smoking, and alcohol.
Oh, you learned a lot of good lessons.
And I can't, is the reason I can't drive cars is because I love to dream and because of annoying traffics.
Amy really got really deep into it, and I think that people were able to learn that it's not just the school district. You can't just depend on administrators, but parents, friends, you have to recruit your own team, and it just just takes a lot.
In the Dakotas, in Lakota Sioux lands, generations of jurisdictional neglect by the federal government and the Bureau of Indian Affairs have tolerated rape and sexual abuse as a way of life for women. Our Casey Medal winner in the magazine non-daily category broke the silence on a deplorable epidemic of violence against women and the inexcusable failure of the system to deliver justice.
The judges praised the way Kathy Dobie wove in the history of the reservation, and they called her reporting diligent and courageous.
Justice deferred can be heard in the silence that has lasted for generations, and most stunningly in the voices of those people just aching to tell somebody, anybody.
Our winner of the first ever Casey Medal for Youth Media goes to WNYC's Radio Rookies for Coming of Age in 2011. And it's a series which challenges young people to share their truths and challenges the rest of us to listen up.
I'm almost 17, and we still haven't had a serious family conversation about the fact that my parents and sister are undocumented. That's half my family.
Since I was 6, I've been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, PTSD, ODD, suspected to have bipolar disorder and depression. Mental illnesses, gotta catch them all.
Making our stories has allowed us a platform to reach such a broad and diverse audience, from kids and parents who are dealing with the same challenges as us, and adults who would never really hear youth perspective on everyday issues. This program empowers youth voices that would otherwise be drowned out by the status quo.
The judges awarded the Casey Medal to Katie Falkenberg of the Los Angeles Times. Her short video, A Lasting Toll, is a beautiful and intimate look at people from all walks of life who wound up on the same street at the corner of struggle and despair.
I felt disconnected from myself. Like, how could I stoop to this level? I don't want to be out there holding up signs. I want a job. I want to work. But you have to look at the upside of it. There's nothing I wouldn't do for my children.
Where are we? You gotta talk loud. We're the Bachelor Marche. My Marche. How are you? One of my students standing up.
Why would anyone want to kill Kate Pusey?
How are you? Hi!
It seemed the vivacious 24-year-old Peace Corps volunteer from Atlanta had nothing but admirers in the village where she had been assigned in the African country of Benin.
I don't think I've ever seen a more important, impassioned, and inspired collection of journalism than I've seen here tonight. So we're honored to be part of that. Our story was about idealism and betrayal and courage. The idealism of Kate Pusey and others who heard the sound of John Kennedy's words and joined the Peace Corps to be ambassadors for this country overseas, and who were ultimately betrayed by a beloved institution that lost its way. You know, we brought forth a powerful story that challenged authority, challenged a Peace Corps that tried to stonewall, tried to hide the facts. And I am proud to work at ABC News where we had the time and the resources to go to Africa, to follow the story, and to follow it up until finally the President signed a law that somehow will make this better. So thank you very much.
For this story, Laura and Amy interviewed 150 people. They pored over thousands of records and exposed discrimination and corruption in the state of South Dakota's foster care system. Their Casey Medal, the winning series, is called Native Foster Care, Lost Children, Shattered Lives. And here's a bit of a clip.
This series let the listener go into these homes to sit around their kitchen tables, these places that were missing their children. This was radio at its best.
We had tried over about 9 months to
sit down with the governor's office and to sit down with the Department of Social Services, and they didn't want to talk about this issue or any of the statistics that we had found. Instead, they sent out a press release before, I mean, this is before the story aired, that said that whatever story was coming, that it was from a liberal reporter from a liberal news organization that spent time as a child in San Francisco. The problem with that is that we were no longer talking about why the state of South Dakota was forcibly removing Native American children from Indian reservations. We were talking about me. For me, tonight is heartening because I feel like it's an opportunity for organizations like Casey and advocates and everybody else to sort of push back in the other direction and say, it's worth it. We can all come together and say that it's worth doing.
Whether it's narrative storytelling, videos, data visualization, maps, timelines, this year's winner of the Casey Medal in the multimedia category, Discovering Autism, exemplifies this. The judges said the series was carefully reported and insightful. The project's interactive diagnostic tool was a terrific resource for families and a true public service. They credited the Los Angeles Times for giving an early glimpse into the emerging politics of autism. But most of all, the judges praised the LA Times for capturing the humanity of people with autism.
Me being somewhat socially impaired, having to live in a world where they're not always sure what the correct social responses are.
Why is it that we're different and you're normal? Maybe we're normal and you're different.
And in her, autism is full of hugs and kisses and caring for people.
I wanted to share something very personal about this award and what the significance of this award means to me. When I was a child, I struggled deeply at school. My mother was my advocate. It was such a privilege to be able to document families with autism and their parents, to witness their advocacy. So this award goes to the LA Times, to the people that I documented, but also to my mother's advocacy for me. Because without our parents' advocacy, where would we be today, right?
And the final Casey Medal tonight is for photojournalism. It goes to the Philadelphia Inquirer for a series called A Stray Bullet, A Shattered Life, the story of a family traumatized by gun violence in Camden, New Jersey.
The words alone in April Saul's story would be powerful. So would the photos, but together they allow us to live the aftermath of a terrible tragedy.
George's family was amazing that they accepted me and allowed me to do this. They were kind of easier to convince than the hospital and the rehab center that George was in, because I think it was hard for them to imagine that someone could document a situation like this and not really victimize the person involved. And even though crime has certainly not gotten any better in Camden, I really feel gratified to and privileged to have been able to do this story. And, you know, I hope that I will always be friends with George.
George is a miracle, and he's definitely changed my life. He's been a part of my family. My 9-year-old son over there, Jack, they're like, you know, George is like another little brother in our family.
And what do you think about April Saul's story?
She throws too much pictures.
And it's my pleasure to introduce to you the new president and CEO of the America's Promise Alliance, a consortium of over 400 NGOs, John Gompertz. John, would you please come on up?
So we have 2 awards to give tonight, and the way it works is our awards are selected from the awards that the Journalism Center gives. We're presenting 1 award that has to do with raising awareness, and 1 award that has to do with inspiring action. For the Raising Awareness Award, our first honor, the America's Promise Alliance Journalism Award for Awareness, goes to a journalist or group of journalists who effectively bring a new or fresh perspective to key issues concerning children and families. This year's award goes to a team of reporters, there's a hint, who extensively researched a series of articles and multimedia presentations and took a shocking look at violence inside a big city school system and its effect on students. And what this team of reporters uncovered about what was going on in Philadelphia schools was stunning, shocking, but it raised public awareness and brought action in a very important way. All right, so you get that cool award, right? And then you get this cool envelope, which has a $5,000 check, to thank and honor and celebrate the work that you have all done. So thank you and congratulations. This year's award for action, journalism that prompts action, goes to the team from NPR who did the story about the work, about the foster care story in South Dakota. We really wanted to thank and honor you for that story. You said there were some disheartening parts of how people reacted, and we want to be part of the heartening reaction from the community. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And as we leave, just think about what we're doing here. I mean, remember, you know, in the dark days, the critical role that we journalists play, the wordsmiths, the image makers, the editors, the producers, the storytellers, the truth sayers, in building up strong children with words and images and stories. Henry Luce, the founder of Time Magazine, Life Magazine, and Fortune Magazine, said, "I became a journalist to come as close as I possibly could to the heart of the world." I like that, and I congratulate all the award winners tonight for coming as close as possible to the beating heart of the world. Good night.